What's going on, everybody? Tonight is the night for UFC 298, and we've been waiting quite some time for another big UFC event. A couple of weeks, they've just kind of been in the apex. It's been super boring. It's just kind of, one of those where you put together a fight night and you kind of hope for the best, that kind of situation. But it looks like that is finally beyond us, and we have a fantastic night tonight of UFC. So super excited about that. So to kick things off, we're going to talk about the main card. The main card does start off with a fight of Hernandez versus Kopylov. I have no idea who these guys are, if I'm being honest. They are on the main card, so they definitely probably deserve to be there. However, I just can't step out of my zone and act like I know these guys. I don't know anything about them, and I don't know what's going to transpire in that fight, but I'm going to go based on last name basis. I'm going to go that Kopylov wins that fight, and I know I'm probably not saying his name correctly, which is a problem of mine when it comes to some of these fighters, but I mean, it is what it is. I just can't say it. So moving on from that fight, one fight that I wanted to talk about a little bit there on the prelims is going to be the Tafa fight. So Tafa versus Lima. Tafa had a late come injury yesterday, I believe, or early yesterday in the morning. But Tafa's brother, the other Tafa, is coming in and stepping in on 24 hours notice to take the fight, and he weighed in and he did it, and he's going to be fighting tomorrow versus Lima. I would say in this situation, it's not the worst case scenario, given the fact that both of them were training together and they were getting ready for the fight against the same opponent. So it's not like you're plucking in somebody that's coming in and not knowing anything about who they're fighting or what kind of styles they have to be ready for come the big fight. But I do think that should be exciting. It is sad that we aren't going to be able to see the original fight, but at least we still get a fight regardless, and the fight is not canceled. That's always going to be a big thing. Moving into Merab, the pride of Mexico. He is fighting Henry Cejudo, who I don't think anybody will openly say that they like Henry Cejudo. I believe that there are Henry Cejudo fans, but when it comes down to him, holy cow, it just gets so old hearing him talk and listening to him, and he's the ultimate cringe lord. So I think that Merab is going to come in and have a good fight tonight. He is one of the top shining prospects in that division. And so I do think that he takes out Cejudo, and I think that Cejudo goes right back into retirement, kind of where he should have stayed in the long run. You have Neal versus Ian Garry. So Ian the Cuck, Machado Garry, is a little bit in over his head. He's trying to be... There's a few different things that I'm going to point out about this main card with the Conor McGregor whole shebang. Now, granted, Ian Garry is Irish, and I'm sure a big inspiration for him was Conor McGregor, but to act like you were the king of the world and coming in and acting like you're this big superstar, but your wife who's living with her ex-husband in your guys' house and wrote a book about how she solidified a relationship with you because you're an up-and-coming athlete. You're a little bit in over your head on how you feel the crowd reacts to you. Never good to be one of those out in public. So I would say keep that shit for 4chan. You have Whittaker versus Costa. This is Costa's first fight since 2022. He does look prime. He does look ready to go. But of course, there's been a lot of things with him having to pull out because of injuries or doctors saying that he couldn't fight. So to finally have a night where Costa is going to make the walk, he is going to make the fight. That is making the UFC Twitter world insanely happy. And I'll tell you, I think Costa has solidified himself as one of my favorite fighters strictly based on his Twitter presence, because he is ultimately just a full-on, he's just a troll, he's just a funny dude on the internet. And so I get down with him. I'm going to take Costa to win this fight. If he does take this fight seriously like he has before in the past, he can really pull this off. He can really have this good fight. However, Whittaker is no easy task at all. I do love the fact that Costa is coming back against a very strong opponent. I think that that could really solidify him in the position of where he's at, and then being able to kind of climb back up the ranks. I believe right now he is number 6, so we'll see how that goes tonight when he fights against Whittaker, who his last fight he was knocked out. So we want to, I want to see Whittaker bounce back, but not against Costa. I'm sorry, not tonight, but maybe the next fight. Moving into the main event and talking about people who are in over their damn heads. Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Volkanovski is defending his title once again. He has stepped outside of his division to move up to the lightweight division to fight for the double champ position, but he just hasn't been able to solidify it and get it done. Not saying that the second fight was close at all, just given that he took it on short notice. Again, didn't use it as an excuse, but he did get knocked out with a head kick, and that was just tough to see. But glad to see him back fighting in his division against Ilia Topuria, who has been rising up the ranks, who I think that personally his mouth is the reason why he has a championship fight, as well as the way that he's been putting some opponents away. Ilia Topuria is kind of acting like a Conor McGregor. He's doing Conor McGregor things, which is just kind of embarrassing. And then coming in and calling Volkanovski the old man and not really giving him the respect that's due is ultimately probably going to come back and backfire on him. If he wins this fight, the sky is the limit, right? But if he loses, his actions and his attitude towards this whole fight, towards this whole main event, could really backfire on him. And I do think that Volkanovski takes this fight by going in, and I think that he goes strong in the third round and puts Ilia Topuria out. But I do believe that Topuria goes in first, and he goes head on, and he goes full on out with a full on attack and puts Volkanovski in a vulnerable position. However, it's not a spot that Volkanovski has not been in before, and having that championship mindset and having those championships behind him is only going to solidify him more and more in those moments. So those are my predictions on tonight's fights. I do think Merab beats Cejudo. I think Kopylov beats Hernandez. And I think Neal beats Garry. And I think that, or actually, sorry, I'm going to flip that. I think Garry beats Neal, just given the differential in competition there. But Neal could seal the deal there. I do think that Costa beats Whittaker. And I'm going to take Volkanovski versus Topuria. Let's see these fights tonight. Let's crush these beers and enjoy these fights. I'm going to join up with some good friends of mine, and we're going to get some reactions on the board for some of these fights, and as well as just go over post-fight and just kind of put something together. But love it, and we'll do a full recap tomorrow on the Sunday Scaries at 10:30 a.m.